Hello, my name's Gary Robinson, and I'm a senior lecturer in archaeology at Bangor University. And like to take this opportunity to welcome you to this open day, where we're going to be running through, various degree programs within the school, and I'm going to talk specifically about two disciplinary areas: that's history and archaeology, and talk about the various types of degree programs we have, and also talk about the various modules which make up those programs. And we'll also talk about, some of the things about how the degrees are organised, how we teach these courses, and give you some background into the sort of the local area and how we use that area, our location within our teaching. Well, starting off, I think it's worth pointing out that we actually have a very long tradition of teaching both history and archaeology at Bangor University. History has been taught since the founding of the university, whilst archaeology has been taught since 1960. This has many benefits. One of the benefits being that it really means that in terms of buying and collecting books, which are obviously necessary for the teaching of these disciplines, we've been doing it for a long time. So we've got a large, very extensive range of resources which we use for teaching and we use for research. Another really important point is that we are a research-led university in many respects, and that this feeds into our teaching. So you're being taught by people who are actively involved in researching, and the teaching is led by the research. What I mean by this is that because you're being taught by people who are writing articles, academic articles, writing books, engaged in research in the areas that they're teaching, you're being given the most up-to-date information, and you become involved in that kind of process, that process of discovery, which is so important in enthusing people and making people interested in both history and within archaeology. And last but certainly not least is our location. We're located in this beautiful location on the Menai Straits, the Irish Sea, and then with this backdrop of Snowdonia in the background. So in this photograph, you can see in my slide, you can see we've got little part of Bangor in the photograph, and you've got Bangor Pier stretching out into the Menai Straits, and then you've got the Snowdonia Range in the background. You've got looking up the Ogwen Valley. So this fantastic location, and I'll talk a little bit about the importance of this location for the teaching of both history and archaeology in a little while. In terms of the areas of expertise we have a wide range of areas of expertise, and this is sort of directly related to the things that we teach. So you can see within archaeology and heritage, we've got specialisms, particularly in prehistory, maritime archaeology, and museums and heritage. Medieval archaeology, we can see Normans, Welsh princes, Tudors, so this medieval and early modern history, and within modern history, looking at Victorian Britain, looking at ideas of political history, including things like protest and anarchy, and also covering areas of not just Britain, but also of Europe and the USA. So a wide range in terms of chronology, and also a wide range in terms of geographical. Now, the way that degree programs are organised, I think this is really important to understand. That to start off with, this academic year is divided into two sections, two semesters we call them. And semester one starts towards the end of September and runs through to Christmas. And then semester two runs from the new year through to that May time. So semester one and semester two. Now, each year of your degree programme, you will do 6 modules. You'll do 3 modules in semester 1 and 3 modules in semester 2. Now, some of these modules are compulsory and some of them are optional. So you have a wide range of things that you can do each year. So in year one, for example, you can see there's a range of history modules here, and depending on what degree program you do, some of these will be compulsory and some of them will be optional. So you can see we've got a range of modules that are available in both English and in Welsh, and they're ranging from medieval history through to early modern history. You can see the one on Henry VIII, through to modern history, and also to Welsh history. So these are some of the compulsory modules. They won't all be compulsory, it just depends what degree. And then you can choose to do modules from other areas as well in your first year. So remember, 6 modules in your first year. In archaeology, we have a very similar type of scenario, that we have a range of first year archaeology modules, ones which introduce you to general areas. So archaeological principles and techniques is an introduction to archaeology, not designed for people who haven't had any experience in archaeology at all. It's very rare that people will have A-levels in archaeology these days. So coming from an idea of just what archaeology is, through to these more sort of chronological period courses on prehistoric archaeology and historical archaeology. And the last one you can see there is on heritage, this idea of like what we mean by heritage. So again, something which you've probably never studied, something which you maybe have ideas what it's about. So these courses are designed to give like a general introduction to the 2 topics. And I think this is a really important point to understand about the first year of your degree program. First years of your degree program are about exploring general ideas. They're about just developing your ideas of what we mean by history, of what we mean by archaeology. They're about looking at things which maybe you've never studied before. I think this is a really good opportunity to choose things which are different from what you've done at school, things which are different from the A-level or GCSE syllabus. An opportunity to explore different things. But equally, it's also a really important time to develop your skills of academic skills, if you like, how to write essays, how to do bibliographies, those kind of technical skills of how to be an efficient student. So many of these modules, although they may be called Introduction to British Prehistory, they have 2 purposes to them. They have the purpose of introducing you to the archaeology of Britain during prehistory, but also they're about introducing you to writing, to researching, to how to use a library effectively. So they're about building up those skills which are going to set you up well for when you get into your second and third year of your program. In terms of your second and third year, it's a bit of a continuation on. In your second year, you do 6 modules in semester 1, 6 modules in semester 2. In your third year, you do in your third year, you will do a dissertation as well. So you'll actually do 4 modules and a dissertation. You can see from the range of modules on here, you can see we've got modules available in medieval and early modern history. You've got ones in modern and contemporary history, and also modules in archaeology and heritage. And if you're studying archaeology, you can do modules in history. If you're doing a history program, you can do modules in archaeology as well. So it all fits together quite nicely. And you'll see there's an enormous range of things that you can do. And this list, which you can see on the screen here, is just an indication of some of the modules on offer. We offer different modules each year. So one year, you'll have 1 set of modules to choose from. The second year, you'll have a completely different set of modules to choose from. So it maximizes the variety of things that you can study. And the best way of getting a gauge of what's on offer is probably to look at our website rather than to look at this list. And I'll give you an idea of what the current modules which are being taught are. But as I say, a wide chronological range of things for you to look at. Now, in terms of teaching and resources, the library at Bangor University is a beautiful library to start off with. This is a photograph of it here, or part of the library. It's a beautiful library. It's a beautiful library to work in. It's a very important historical library, both in terms of its collections, but also in terms of the building itself. So when you get the opportunity to come to Bangor, it's certainly something that you should visit. And as I said earlier, Bangor has been teaching history and to a lesser extent archaeology for a considerable period of time. So it's had this opportunity to build up stocks of books, build up material, some of which is extremely rare, which is really useful for studying these academic disciplines. Linked to that, Bangor is very fortunate indeed to have its own archives. These archives are separate from the library, and they contain historical documents. And these could be charters, medieval seals. They could be documents from the modern documents associated with the war or the Cold War. They could contain newspapers, photographs, even to some degrees objects of material culture. So this fantastic collection of objects, fantastic collection of documents, historical documents, which are available for study. And these really come into their own when you're thinking about what you want to do for your dissertation. This resource, this fantastic resource, which very few universities can actually offer. So the archives are really important. Alongside those archives is Bangor Museum. There's a museum in Bangor called Storial. This is run by the council, but many of the collections, and originally the museum itself was actually owned by the university. The museum was part of the original buildings of the university. You had the library on the top floor and you had the museum on the ground floor. And the idea was that there was no real separation between studying objects and studying books and written text. The two were seen as equally important. In the 1960s, this museum moved out from this location and moved down into Bangor, and it's now called Storial. But we have access to many of the collections which were originally part of the actual university collections themselves. So it's a really important resource, particularly for archaeology, because there's a lot of archaeological material in there, but also for history. It gives you a different angle for thinking about history. Another really important resource is the Institute for the Study of Welsh Estates. This is a research group set up within the university which looks at these kind of landed estates of these country homes and these estates associated with them, looking at the history of them, the development of them, their rise and the fall of these estates. And the archives holds many of the documents and the archival records from these Welsh estates. So really important material which you can draw from, particularly looking at early modern and modern history. So really something really worth sort of considering. And another really important resource, particularly maybe perhaps I'm being biased as an archaeologist, but the actual environment that we live and that we work in. So here we can see two sites. We can see a Neolithic burial monument beside Harlech, and over on the right we can see a medieval chapel over on Anglesey. And our location is really important because we can use it as part of our teaching. So in terms of archaeology, rather than just talking about things in theory, talking about pictures in books and articles in books, we can actually go out and visit the sites that are right on our doorstep. We can get to these sites, we can get into a minibus, and we can get to these sites in sort of 10 minutes. And rather than just talking about them in the classroom, we can get people to read articles about them, and then we can go and visit them on site. And so this element, this fieldwork element, or this practical field trip element is really important for our teaching. And we're in this really privileged position to be right on on our doorstep, having all of these fantastic archaeology and history, including, of course, some of the great World Heritage sites like Carnarvon Castle and Conwy Castle, Beaumaris Castle, and more recently the bid for World Heritage status for the industrial slate landscapes of North Wales. And of course, it's not just the prehistoric record that we're interested in visiting. Here you can see a photograph of maybe an unlikely candidate. This is Trasfynydd nuclear power station, one of the first nuclear power stations in the British Isles, the only nuclear power station which is not on the coast. Very important architectural building, whether you like it or not, this kind of brutalist architecture in the middle of Snowdonia. So again, these are also some of the sites that we will visit when talking about industrialization and 20th century history and archaeology. So the location of Bangor is a real plus when it comes to studying history and to studying archaeology. Other resources that we have within archaeology, we make use of this Henvice Research Centre. This is a centre run by Natural Sciences at Bangor, and we're trying to make greater links between ourselves and the other colleges in the university. And Henvice Research Centre is, as I said, a natural science research centre, and it owns this tract of land. It owns a farm, but this tract of land, I think it's something like 260 hectares of land, which runs from sea level right up to almost 1,000 metres. And this is used in order to train students in fieldwork, in terms of archaeological fieldwork, in terms of survey, in terms of excavation, in terms of recording sites in various types of environment. So we're in this unique position of the university owning this large tract of land in this beautiful area, but importantly in different types of environments, from the shoreline right up into some of the highest mountains in the UK. Similarly, in terms of archaeology, it's really important doing field work and excavation experience. And this is a site called Dinas Dinlley, which this year we are involved in excavations on this site. We run excavations and field work as a school itself, by members of staff within the school running excavations, but we also do work collaboratively with other organisations. So here you can see site of Dinas Dinlley being eroded by the sea, working with the Royal Commission as part of this Cherish programme, which is to do with climate change, and Gwynedd Archaeological Trust running a training excavation at this site of Dinas Dinlley, which is happening this summer. So students will be being trained by two really important professional archaeological organisations. So this opportunity to get professional training, to work alongside professional archaeologists on this really important project. Now, as well as thinking about the courses and what we do, it's also worth thinking about how we teach people. Well, the forms that teaching takes will vary depending upon different modules. So we teach generally in forms of lectures and seminars. And just to make that clear, lectures are where you all sit in a room, somebody sits in the front of you, maybe shows some slides, talks about what you're talking about, talks about the French Revolution, you make notes, that's a lecture. A seminar is in much smaller groups. So it's broken down into maybe groups of 10 and involves you being given reading to read before the seminar. You read all of the things that you're supposed to read, and then you sit down as a group and you discuss what you've read, or you answer a series of questions based on what you've read. So there's quite a difference between lectures and seminars. Seminars really need this kind of active participation. Workshops are often used in order to teach specific skills. When it comes to dissertations, you'll have one-to-one supervision. And also, as I said before, fieldwork and field trips being a really integral part of both history and archaeology. Private study with the humanities is really important because you're going to spend an awful lot of time in the library reading reading up on things that you've been asked to read, but also following up on reading. You read one thing, it leads to another thing. So I think you can't underestimate the amount of time that you're going to have to spend reading and studying by yourself. Obviously, be guided in what to read and how to look at it, but it really plays a really important part in particularly humanities-based subjects. In terms of assessment, again, it's quite variable. The sort of traditional sort of essay and exams are still there. Sometimes exams or you're given the examination paper in advance, and then you can go to the library and you can look things up. So it's a bit like writing an essay, but very fast. So we've got essays, we've got reports, we've got book reviews. You might be asked to do a blog or a podcast. So a range of different types of assessment. So there's something there which can suit everybody, because we're quite aware that some people get very anxious at the thought of exams or oral presentations. So we're quite flexible, and there's a range of different forms of assessments that you can take part in. Now, I think that's all I've really got to say for today. Hopefully we'll meet you at some point in the future. What I would say is to keep in touch with us. If you are interested about anything there is to do with Bangor, you can contact myself, that's Dr. Gary Robinson, or you can contact my colleague, Dr. Mary William, and we can answer any questions that you have. And this can be on anything you like. This can be on degree courses, it could be on individual modules, it could be on Bangor University itself, or maybe it's about the location of Bangor or about Bangor City. So any questions that you have, don't hesitate in getting in contact with us, and we'll be do whatever we can in order to help you out. So thank you for watching this short video, and hopefully we'll see you very soon. Bye now.